Okay, this is a demo on the ancient form of pattern transfer called pouncing. And in order to do pouncing, you need to poke a series of holes using a needle tool in a piece of paper that is your pattern. And then you transfer the pattern onto the surface of your item using what they call pounce. And this is an example of some of the common tools that I use. First off, there's a very specific pattern, and this one's been used multiple times. And on the back you can see the holes. And this is when you want to do something that you can't reproduce easily, and it's something a little more complex. That way you can make multiples of the same thing. And these are some examples of my generic patterns, and I have little bitty ones to do inside bowls and slightly bigger for bowls, and then you have small plates and big plates. And these are hand drawn using common drafting tools like a straight edge and a compass and a ruler or a protractor. And this is one that I've generated online using a website that draws geometric shapes for free and puts them into PDF files. And some of the common tools that you also need is the pounce, and this is loose graphite. And I'm using loose graphite because when it's on a ceramic piece that's fired in a kiln, it's going to go away. And you can also use charcoal. And this is bought at an art supply store in a large jar, kind of like spaghetti sauce. And I have just put it in an old cosmetic loose powder jar. And this is a my needle tool, which I use to poke the holes in all the patterns. And it's actually a quilter's pin, which is one of the big-headed pins that fabric quilters use. And I've just wrapped some polymer clay around it and fired it in the oven so that I have handles to make it a little easier to hold. And this is my pouncing tool, which I use to actually transfer the dots onto the ceramic piece. And this is made using a stenciling pouncing sponge. So it's a stick with a little piece of foam on the end that I've wrapped with a cotton ball and a piece of fabric, and then there's just a little rubber band to hold it all together. And so this is a little one, and then I have a bigger one. And the brush is just used to erase the dots if I don't want some of them, or if I decide that I didn't get it on right, I can brush them off and try again. And it's also useful because after you have done this pouncing, the first thing you really want to do is outline the item that you're using the pouncing for, and then you can brush away the dots so that if you're doing shading, you don't get confused by the loose graphite being a dirty smudge on your painting. So the first thing I'm going to do is show how to pounce on a flat surface. And this is a hand-thrown plate that I made that is covered with a white glaze. And it's already centered on my banding wheel, and this is a Colorobia banding wheel with an armrest, and they're still available from various sources online. So one of the first things I do after I have the piece centered is I'm going to draw a series of small circles. And the main reason I'm doing that is so that I can find the middle. And then I'm going to take this piece, which I've used multiple times, and I have a hole in the center, and I am going to use the little circles I've drawn to find the middle. So now I have that placed, and I can take my pounce and I can just rub it and the other thing I can do is check to see if I've finished, and I still have a little bit left. And I always always trying to make sure I have up at the top because that's an area that I tend to miss. And then I'm going to pick this up carefully, and I have a perfect grid onto this plate. So the other thing about using this little tool is your hands get a lot, or stay cleaner than they would if you actually used a little bag filled with graphite like they sometimes recommend. You get filth all over your hands, but this is a little bit less filth.